Done. All right. We are recording. All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool. StreamYard sound on the dashboard, so no telling what you might hear today. Yeah. So yeah,
we're due for some guest.
Yeah, there's at the end of the show, it'd be like, all right, let's rate our guest for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool.
No guest today. We are doing
a
flight. Yes.
We figured this topic is so basic that we could just handle it ourselves.
Of course.
Right. Because we're going to be talking about the brain science of persuasion and why some messages stick and others don't.
That's right.
So, I mean, yeah, we could get an author, neuroscientist. We've had those on the show before. Don't need them. Don't need them.
No,
we're good. So you're going to be hearing about brain science and persuasion from two guys who absolutely know nothing, about neuroscience and all that kind of. Well, I wouldn't say nothing.
Yes.
We certainly don't have any accredited papers or sheepskins to prove our knowledge.
We did stay at a Holiday Inn Express this past week, but
that's true.
That's an old commercial, though.
That is an old commercial.
People probably
still use it. I think I heard that phrase 2 or 3 days ago. So
oh, really?
It's still out there in the zeitgeist.
It's still relevant.
Yeah. See, that's the brain science of persuasion right there. You get something sticky enough.
That was sticky.
Yeah.
Because they created something that people could use in everyday conversations, right? Or just using their everyday
movies.
Joking. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been some movie, one liner in a movie, and what else? And we've. I was thinking of another example, but I just forgot it. So, So that'll be good. So we've got 3 different articles to talk about, and then I've got one little thing that I want to share that I got in the mail this week. Some good marketing. It was a good example of a combo multi-presence marketing. So I'll share that near the end of the show.
Awesome. Love those mailers.
Yeah. And this was interesting, which we'll talk about, but I'll save that for later.
Okay.
So for now, it is that time of the show. There's our gong for that's going to be our new intro for the beer section.
Love it, man. Where are you finding all these? Is it down
on the media assets tab?
Oh, media assets. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So, all right.
But
new sounds.
Yeah, cool stuff. So anyway, let's do our juvenile beer talk. What you're working your way through?
Yes, a German case of from Deutschland is. Let's see if I can pull it up here. It is I hope it doesn't taste like it says, but it's a hell. George Ritzmeier. I know I'm totally butchering that because that's not how you pronounce it in German. A classic light gold color with a delicate lingering white foam. Refreshing profile that is slightly malted with a floral backdrop. So 4.9%. It's a this type of beer is a hell. So that's not the name. It's the type of beer. So
like a lager, it's a hell instead of a lager or whatever else, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Huh. I didn't know that was a class of beer. So
yeah, learned something. And we've been drinking beer for how long?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
So a little history. This brewing company, brewing beers as early as 1422. This family has brewed quality beers locally using traditional methods, showing an ability to adapt and innovate. This brewery has incorporated modern equipment to improve efficiency and energy. Sounds like Germans right there. And energy conscious practices such as a wood chip heating system, as well as an energy saving program using heat storage. Yep, that's German. Those are Germans for sure.
Yeah, that's some German stuff going on there. Man, we have gone from we've lost about half our viewers already.
We killed them with that description.
I tell you, see German stuff. So
you're like, what are they talking about?
Yeah. What does this got to do with persuasion? Well, you drink enough and it's, somebody's going to have the upper hand.
That's right.
Yeah. So I've got one that is interesting today. Let me add this to the stage. So fast becoming one of my favorite brewers in the country, Martin House Brewing. They have the craziest beers, and and when you're on episode 412 and you're trying to find a different beer, they fast become a go-to resource. So the one we're having today, I mean, look at some of these beers, man. Like we've got the Imperial Texan Dr. Bach, which I think I've had on.
Oh, look at those, man.
It's crazy stuff, right?
And I like those, the art on those.
Yeah, the art's great on all their stuff. They've got an extra crunchy peanut butter stout.
Now that's cool. I would love to try that.
Yeah. And then the one I'm having today is the Scary Pecan Pie.
Ooh, man.
So this is, just hold it up here to the screen. So this is Scary Pecan Pie. Got like this little art guy on it, little pumpkin pie face dude. That. And this is wait for it, a stout with pecans, marshmallow, and graham cracker flavoring, sea salt, brown sugar, and lactose, coming in a healthy 10% alcohol. So,
where'd you find that? Where'd you pick that one up?
This one was at Trader Joe's. Actually, we went to the new Trader Joe's they opened up, but I don't know if they're regional because they're out of Fort Worth, so I don't know if they're national or not.
Yeah.
So they're a Fort Worth brewery, so may not be able to get them. I might need to put you together a pack or something. And
absolutely.
Send it for Christmas.
You talk pecan pie. That's like my absolute favorite dessert at Thanksgiving. Yeah. And
we'll see if it's, it smells good. So that's a good start. So,
all right.
So yeah, let's cheers it up and we'll
cheers.
Ready. Trying to see if I can separate the flavors of pecans, marshmallow, graham cracker, sea salt, sugar. That's a lot to separate on my palate. But no, it's pretty good. It definitely has that. It's not an imperial stout, but it definitely leans towards imperial kind of sweetness, but not overly sweet.
Mm-hmm. Taste the pecan.
I think a little bit, like just a hint of it. So, but you go ahead. What's your rating? You went first, so
nothing special here. It honestly tastes like a Pilsner. So I'm going to give it a, which to me, like this time of year, I'm not a big Pilsner fan. This time, I like Pilsners maybe around the spring, summer. I don't know. I'll give it a 3.2. 3.2.
All right. Well, on Beer Advocate, this one got a 3.96 out of 5. I think it's a little better than that. I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Wow. Okay.
Very good. It's a little rich. It's not something you're going to, drink the whole 4-pack, but you could definitely have 2 of them.
2 of them. That's it.
We'll see.
What was that? ABV? Sound like I've been drinking a few already.
Yeah. 10%.
10%. Okay. Gotcha.
So I've got another one on standby. May or may not drink it. We'll see.
All right.
So
awesome.
Yeah, you found a couple articles. We don't have a guest this week. We do have a guest next week.
Yep.
So we have to find some filler material between guests, and you found a couple articles on kind of brain, the tricks that make your brain remember things, and then some brain activity stuff. I mean, you went deep into the science this
deep
week.
Diving neuroscience, man. This is if I were starting
a casual
over in
hobby
school, I would. Huh?
Just what you do on the weekend, right?
That's right. I go deep, man. I've got a filing cabinet full of academic research material that I have been storing for years.
Yeah.
Just waiting to write my next book.
There you go. And then we're going to take that. I went and did a little research, and I was like, well, how do we make this practical, right? So I went out and found another article. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
So how we can make this practical in everyday usage.
Yep.
Right. And that segment will be a little harder to follow on the audio podcast, but we'll do our best. A little bit more visual, but we'll do our best to describe what's going on, and we'll link to the article as well.
So on one sense, we're going to be covering the brain activity what brain activity reveals what makes a persuasive message really sticky. Like we'll cover that. Like what really makes a message sticky in people's minds and makes them remember it long term. And so we'll give some examples of that. And then the second thing we're going to get into is talking about some tricks to be more persuasive.
Yep.
And we won't give away too much, but it's a simple thing that you can incorporate into your conversations that'll make you more memorable and more persuasive.
All right. Nice hook.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump in. Tell us about this brain activity, since you're the scholar and you do all the research. So I'll let you lead.
Yeah. So brain activity, it's a new study by Communication Neuroscience Lab.
Oh, this is hot off the press.
Hot off the press. Yeah. This is
November 5th.
November the 5th. I didn't get it. This is not 2 years old. This is
No, I mean, well, you got your readers set up
fresh.
And all that stuff. I mean, sending you stuff every day. Like,
That's right.
Yeah,
I got the Google alerts going. You know,
this is less than 2 weeks old, people. We are. I mean, Huberman hasn't even talked about this yet.
Right. So neuroscientists have shown that looking at how people's brains respond to persuasive messages, and these have to do like television, advertisements, newspaper articles, and they've looked into these and how they reveal why there's certain messages that change our minds or change our behavior. It shows that there are two factors. There are two factors that contribute to what makes a message sticky in our heads. And one of those has to do with reward systems, like personal rewards. You know, how is this going to benefit me? Like achieving more. And in addition to that, here's the interesting thing. How does this relate to my social engagement with other people? How does this going to make me look not only perform or improve in my own self, but how is it going to make me engage better with my peers or make me look better in their eyes? So I ask AI to summarize this more clearly, you know, so I could break this down, because
a couple guys drinking beer could understand it.
Because that's right. A couple of schlebs on a podcast can just talk about it without getting into a lot of the details. But it says researchers pulled from more than 500 participants across 16 studies covering diverse message formats. These are YouTube videos, health campaigns, news articles, crowdfunding, movie trailers, and they identified that brain activity and two key systems predicted messages effective across two different contexts. Reward, as I mentioned, reward process regions related to personal relevance, anticipation of benefit. So think of, you know, what makes me think of, like, a good example is like Nike. Have you ever noticed like some of their commercials isn't talking about the shoe, it's talking about performance, your own
lifestyle
performance.
Yeah, so, and how you're going to be better.
And like I think, yeah, be like Mike. Exactly. Yeah. And then number two, as I mentioned, mentalizing social processing regions related to thinking about others' thoughts and feelings. So in terms of relating to others, what do you think how does that relate?
I don't know. Is that like status, or is it more like being able to convince other people, like, or be interesting to other people?
According to this, it's what your status is. So not only your own personal status for accomplishing, but also how you're seen by other people.
The group.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting about that,
it goes back to like a lot of the brands that we talk about, like the high end brands. It's all about, you know, what is your status amongst your peers? And
you see this a lot with teenagers and their brands, right?
Right.
Like you got to have whatever jean is in and whatever shoe is in and whatever, you know, puffer jacket is in, you know, for, you know, what was that? 10 years ago, it was Uggs and North Face. And, you know, now it's, you know, Crocs are back. And now you've got, I don't know what the cool jacket is this year. I mean, when we were growing up, it was members only, you know, I mean, everybody had a members only jacket or one of those multicolored windbreakers, you know.
Yep.
Showing our age here, but you know, it ran. And if you didn't have that jacket, you weren't in the social clique.
Right. Yeah.
But it also makes me
social identity thing. You got to have, like, I mean, whatever that identity is, and it really depends on the brand. So some people's identity is is about their status, like whether it's like a status of being affluent or a status of power. Some people, that's how they want to relate. Other people, it's a different social identity, and it's being thinking of the environment. I think of Patagonia. That's a brand that, like, they're built on, they do a great job of that. If you look at a lot of their marketing is towards, and we've talked about this, about towards the environment, people who are conscious towards that. And if you're looking at that or wearing that, how are people seeing you? How are your peers looking at you if you wear that? If they know, okay, typically somebody that wears that, kind of, that they're wearing that for a purpose, not just because it's great clothing.
Right. And that's baked into their messaging, right? So that's what makes that brand sticky for those people.
Right.
It doesn't make it sticky for everybody. And I think that's probably a good point to make here, is that what is sticky for one group of people and your ideal customer is not going to be sticky for other people.
Right.
Right. If I'm a gamer, then I'm probably not buying a Mac or a MacBook, especially, right? I'm going to custom build my PC. Like, they don't care about any of the streamlined, design features of the computer. They need it to perform. They don't care what it looks like. It can take up 6 blocks under their desk. Like, as long as it performs, that's all they're looking for. So, maybe have some cool colors and lights and things on it. So so that makes sense. Like, so reward, what's the personal, which is the old, like, WIIFM, right? What's in it for me?
What's in it for me?
That's the station.
And then how are people going to view me?
Yeah.
Apple did this really well for years. I mean, you think about their marketing messages, like owning a Mac back in the day, like early on, that was kind of a status symbol, right? I mean, people like you were all
in the early days, it was only for the creatives and the weirdos.
The creators, like the artists. Yes.
Yeah. Not even like creators like we think today. We think of entrepreneurs as creators. We think of, but back then it was like graphic artists and, that kind of stuff, like real artsy creators. They worked in dark rooms and, that kind of stuff. But now, it's taken a little bit wider lens because they've gone more mainstream, of course. But I don't know what I think today, I think they've lost that stickiness in their message. I think they just have a huge base of customers that keep buying their stuff, but I don't know that they're converting.
They've built their systems where it's hard to get out of.
Yeah. But I can't think of an Apple message right now that's sticky.
No,
it's just, they've built a great ecosystem and they make good products, but and it's obvious that an operations guy is running Apple now instead of a creative guy.
Yeah.
Because everything works great. It's functional. It lasts a long time. Like, does all the things a product should do and that you would want it to do, but there's no social image around it anymore.
Right.
Right. I mean, in fact, it's probably more common and less, status than it ever has been.
Right.
If you go to the average coffee shop, everybody's on a Mac.
Yeah.
There's no status. There's no status to it anymore.
No.
So despite the price
but they've done such a good job of the early marketing that they did to bring people in, and now to the point where it's very hard to, it's sticky and it's hard to get out of. Right.
Yeah,
it's hard to go back.
Well, it's almost gotten to the level of Procter and Gamble, where if your mom used Tide, then you use Tide.
Right.
If your mom used whatever dishwashing soap, then you probably use that same soap, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happened with Apple is, like, you and I, since our 30s have been using Apple. So our kids probably use Apple.
Yeah.
Right. Because we bought the phone for them. And then, well, if you got the Apple phone, you might as well have the Mac because they're going to talk to each other better. And it just creates, that. But but I don't think the younger people that are buying Macs for the first time or their first Apple device, although I will say the Apple, the iPhone is very much socially entwined.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be the green bubble on the group text thread.
No.
Right. You don't want to be the one person out.
Yep. And that's right. That's right.
So there's a little social pressure there.
You're easily identifiable when you get the green bubble.
Yeah. Yeah. So Well, I try my best to never be in a group chat, but sometimes it happens. But
Yeah.
um, all right.
You know,
So
I was
any,
thinking who does a great job of this. If you put these two together, we've talked about, the guys at Go Ruck.
mm,
This is a very good example because there's two aspects: the personal reward aspect of getting out and hitting with a ruck,
yep,
um, getting out there for personal benefits for your own health,
yep,
and then the social aspect of you know interconnecting with others out there who are on a common out there with a common cause.
yeah, and they have their product is like a Mac. It's very identifiable.
Hmm.
Like if I'm ever driving around and see somebody walking on the side of the road on a sidewalk, you can spot a Go Ruck pack, you know, pretty good ways away. Like
Yeah.
they have a very unique look. So yeah, that's a great example. It's a little, it's a small company,
Yeah.
relatively speaking, that not a lot of people know about. But yeah, they have a huge social aspect
Yeah.
um, to their product.
Yeah. And they
In
have you
fact,
noticed
they
they've
started
updated.
it. They started as an event company. They didn't have their own gear.
They didn't have their own gear. Now they have not only the backpacks. Now you've probably seen they have the wearable vests now with weighted.
Hmm.
They have weighted vests now. That's a new
Yeah,
product. So they're continuing to add new products to.
yeah,
Um,
because that's what all the suburban moms started wearing was the 12-pound weighted
yeah.
vest
Yep.
instead of the ruck,
Yep.
which is slightly different workout, but at 12 pounds, it's not that big a difference.
No.
But yeah, I remember probably 2012. I was living in Chattanooga, and a bunch of the guys at the CrossFit box I was at. That's another example, probably, um, of what we're talking about.
Yep.
But they're going to this Go Ruck event, and I was like, "What is that?" Like, it's like before I ever heard of it, and they were taking their own like kids school backpack and like wrapping bricks and towels and duct taping it, before
Yeah.
GoRuck had their own bags that would last, and
Hmm.
every one of them came back with just those bags were just ripped to shreds, and so. But yeah, they did like an all night,
Yeah.
ruck, and I was like, man, that's crazy. And then I did it 5 years later. I did my first big
That's
GoRuck event.
awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great example. Anything else from this article, or we'll move on to making this practical for people?
That's I mean, some other brands you think of, Tesla is they, about social, not only the obviously the reward for innovation, personal reward, you're doing something that's new, makes yourself look better in the eyes of others. Although Tesla's took a hit, the last couple of years. I think their stock's back up though.
Yeah, I think
Recently.
Subaru is another one.
Yeah.
Plenty of jokes about Subaru too, but there is an environmental edge kind of feel to
Yeah.
Subaru. People that drive Subarus like the outdoors. There's we all know there's two different markets there, but we won't get into that on the show.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah. So what else? Let's move on to the second article you sent.
Yeah. This is kind of interesting. So why don't let's see, you've got that one. Okay. So my article talks about, this is from Newsweek, and this is actually a recent one too. This was last week. So it says scientists reveal a simple trick to make you seem more persuasive. One simple trick that can make you more persuasive when you're talking to people. This discovery from the University of British Columbia, University of Pennsylvania, and the University of Southern California researchers. And this research revealed that while words are important, talking with your hands could hold a lot more power. In fact, purposeful hand gestures, and one type in particular, can make you appear more convincing and competent. So Bill, let's see what else is. Can you guess what the hand gesture is, Sean?
Well, I found a whole list of them. So,
Okay, so there's more than one.
yeah. And here's what's it. Before we get into them, it's interesting you pick this because one thing I've heard, and you can see it if you were watching our YouTube videos, you can see this as we're doing it. But like for most people, when they're on a Zoom call, you only see from their chest up.
Yeah.
And a lot of times their hand is on their desk, on the keyboard, on the mouse, things like that. And you can't see their hands. And there's another study that talks about if you can't see someone's hands, there's less trust in that conversation, right? So I think that this is important, even for video to video conversation, is learning how to kind of bring your hands up into the frame of the screen.
Yeah.
Or to adjust your camera, maybe sit a little bit further back so that you can get some hand motions inside the frame of the Zoom screen or the StreamYard or the podcast, whatever you're doing. And I think that's why some of the top podcasts, you see them at a table and there's a wide shot.
Absolutely.
And you can see the person's hands, you can see them making gestures and things like that. Obviously, they do the close up and things like that as well. But if you can't see somebody's hands, you start to it's kind of the old, what's up your sleeve? What are you hiding type thing. Right. So with that said, what is the top thing?
So it reminds me, going back to Apple, Steve Jobs, every time he gave a keynote or they did a product launch, that guy was masterful. If you get on YouTube and watch some of his talks, him walking back and forth, even with nothing in his hands, just using his hands while speaking. I mean, it's really powerful. And he did that every time, just
he'd walk from one side of the stage over here to another side of the stage over here. Every time you give direction, you should be using your hands. So if you're watching me on the videos, if I say over here or this thing, then I might put my hands out to the left.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, and you're comparing it to something over here, you put your hands out to the right. And it just helps people visually process, because not everybody's an auditory learner.
Right.
Some people are visual and they need that visual stimulus to help them understand what's going on.
Yep.
So I think what was the
typically it's gestures, like hand gestures that visually depict spoken content, such as demonstrating the size of something while describing it, and highlighters, for example, pointing to an object mentioned, and then random unrelated movements and absence of gestures were also examined. But these, the ones that came out on top were basically just illustrating sizes, the size of something or how important it is, making that gesture of large.
Yep. So I went based on that. Oh, did you freeze or I freeze?
No. Okay. I'm back.
All right. I know. I think they were both jumping a little bit today. It must be those solar flares. Those X-class solar flares have been firing up this week. So I found an article about 20 hand gestures you should be using. And this is from a Medium article that Vanessa Van Edwards wrote 6 years ago. So my research is a little more dated than yours.
Okay.
But she's the one that kind of got famous on a TED Talk where she talked about the Superman pose and all of those poses. Yeah. I think that's her that she kind of got. But she's in this article, she's talking about 20 hand gestures you should be using. And they use basically the same methodology in the article that you just talked about, but they analyzed a lot of the most famous TED Talks, looked at all the hand gestures, looked at audience interaction, looked at YouTube interaction, all that kind of stuff. And the top ones, so first of all, I thought the most interesting thing here is there is a box that your hand gestures need to stay inside of. And it's basically from your shoulder. It's almost like a strike zone in baseball, right? It's from your shoulders to your waist.
Okay.
And maybe about, 6 inches or so outside your shoulders.
Okay.
If you get beyond that or above that, then it starts to look too big.
Right.
And you look out of control and untrustworthy. As long as you keep it kind of here, you're not going over the top. But if you start going way up here and you're
if you're going way out here.
Yeah. And way up to the top.
Right. You're over exaggerating.
Right.
You
People
probably,
think you're exaggerating. People think you're stretching it.
yeah,
You're overemphasizing a point, which makes you look, we've talked to some experts on this. Like whenever you overemphasize a point,
right.
it's less credible unless you're doing it with, satire and hyperbole and some of that stuff. A comedian could get away with that, Kevin Hart, things like that, because they're trying to be over the top.
Right.
But if you're giving a typical speech or you're trying to persuade, you want to stay inside that little strike zone for your hand gestures.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I could see that. I can picture somebody going, too wide.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, you're thinking of that, that
The
you're
hypey
thinking in your
motivational
head
speaker.
is like, I think he's probably making like he's kind of one of the guys with the tall tail with the fish, the fishing story.
Yeah. And, we've all seen like the motivational speaker who, does the hand gestures, and he's like,
Yeah.
he'll get down on his knees and like, if he's going to say low to high, he'll go all the way down to the stage and like put his hand like 1 inch from the stage. And then he'll go all the way to the other stream and be like,
Yeah.
you could be up here. And he stretches out as far as he can. Right. Like that's just, that's too much, now, if you're Tony Robbins and people paid $3,000 to come see your weekend, you could probably get away with that.
Right.
Right. Cause they're super fans.
Yep.
Right. It's kind of a different environment. Right.
Yeah.
So you got to obviously be aware of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So some of the other ones that work, and some people do this naturally. So a lot of these things are natural, but they did say you can't just like wave your hands. Like if there's no connection to what you're saying and you're just waving your hands,
right.
Like you see some, not to be racist, but Italians, have a history and kind of a, with using their hands, but it doesn't necessarily go with what they're saying.
Right.
But things like listing points, right? So if you're giving a list, you count off with your fingers as you're giving the list. Point number 1, point number 2. But it's very calm and it's inside that strike zone.
Yep.
That you're trying to stay in. So listing is a big one. What you said earlier is like the size. So it's like a little bit, and you just use your fingers and you show like 2 or 3 inches apart, or a lot. Yep. And you might put your hands out, just past shoulder width to show a lot. Again, you don't want to go super wide. And then they gave a lot of other ones. Making a fist when you're trying to make a point is really good, but it has to be done. Like you can't sound angry when you're doing it. Otherwise it comes off as angry, but you can kind of emphasize with a fist if you want to emphasize a point. It's important that you understand, whatever. So when you say the word important, you could kind of make a fist and kind of put it out in front of you, and people will follow. Like, they'll kind of feel the weight of it. And there's a lot of things like that. And they're pretty and if you really start looking at this, you could start writing your speeches and your talks and your presentations around, and use words like around, and you could make a little hand gesture like around, where you kind of wave your hand in a circle. So if you start thinking about words that are descriptive, you could then match your hand gestures to those symbols.
Yeah. Yep.
So in this article, I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the comments on YouTube and Facebook while I'm thinking about it. There's 20 different ones that you can use, but they are all basically, they're fairly intuitive. Like if you were thinking about what you were saying, you could easily find a hand gesture for that.
I was trying to, while you were pulling it up, I was going to show like an old Steve Jobs clip.
Oh yeah.
See if we can watch this and see.
More than anybody else in this room. And I've got the scar tissue to prove it. And I know that it's the case. It started with what incredible benefits can we give to the customer? Where can we take the customer? Not starting with, let's sit down with the engineers and figure out what awesome technology.
So for our people who are listening, so he's sitting down, and when he said the word customers, he took his hand and kind of made like the chef's kiss motion, but from his mouth, he went up his chin to his mouth and then out towards the audience.
Yep.
Because he's talking about customers, which are outside of the business, right? So the gesture then is out kind of away from you because you're talking about something away from you.
Right.
So little things like that doesn't necessarily mean the word. It's not like that sign language for the word customers.
Right.
But it shows that it's outside of us and that we're thinking about something outside of us. Right. And if you're watching the video, then it's kind of pointing towards you as the viewer. So just little things like that, so that's a good one. And
I love you mentioned numbering. Like if you've got points, typically if you're giving a speech or a presentation, you've got, 4 or 5, or 5 to 7 points that you want to get across, And I love the fact that when you're numbering, one, emphasizes each one, and you've got that, you're holding that firm. Because that's easy to do in a presentation, first of all, and you don't show, you're not emphasizing it with the visual.
Yeah, I mean, it gives the visual learner something to grasp onto. So let's say you were going to cover 3 points in a talk. And as you kind of intro that, you could say, I'm going to share 3 points with you. And you hold up 3 fingers and you kind of push them towards the audience just a little bit, right? Yep. I'm going to share 3 points for you. And each of these points are very important. Right. Number 1, and then you do number 1. And then you talk for a little while and you say, number 2. And then you get to number 3 and you say, and you usually do, if you're doing a good speech and if you have the time, you would review before you get to number 3, you would review 1 and 2. You say, now we've already talked about number 1, and you say it again. Number 2, you say it again. Now let's talk about point number 3. Yep. And then you do it. And that just helps people like visually and mentally stay on track. It also builds a little bit of trust because when you say you're going to talk about 3 things and then you list off 3 things, you've done what you said you were going to do, and it builds trust and authority.
Right.
If I said, I'm going to give you 3 things and then I gave you 2 and I said, well, I don't have time for number 3.
Yeah.
It's kind of a letdown. Now, if I said, I've got 7 things that are really important, but I've only got time for 3, and I say that up front, that's different, right? Because then you've been honest up front. But if all of a sudden you say, I'm just out of time, then that pisses people off.
Yeah.
Dave D, I was listening to a podcast with him, and he was talking, he does that on purpose. He'll say, there's 7 things that I could tell you about, this process, but I've only got time for 3.
Right.
So he's already setting up the need to go get the course or the program or whatever that has the other 5 things in it or 4 things in it.
Right.
So yeah, you can use all that, but yes, small, medium, and large, you can use different, you could go up and down, you could go left to right with that. The old like praying hands or the fingertips to each other, making a little triangle.
Yep.
That's kind of like this, I'm the expert pose.
Yeah. Jobs used to do that.
Yeah.
Occasionally. You would know. Yeah. That's certainly something he would do.
They mentioned it from like Kevin O'Leary on Shark Tank. He's always always sitting there like, I know something you don't know, right? Yeah. Or it's kind of this power type move.
Absolutely.
You can point, but it's very like you got to be careful when you point. What's another one? Oh, the touchdown Jesus. Like you don't go full touchdown Jesus, right? Where it's arms straight out, but you kind of bend at the elbow, so you got kind of 90 degrees, and you hold your palms kind of 45-degree angle up and forward, not straight forward and not completely up. Kind of at that. It's hard to do in the screen, but right, and just your elbows are down by your side and your hands are out kind of right at the edge of that strike zone we talked about earlier. And this is kind of they call it like a godlike pose when you're making a grand gesture, when you're kind of making a big point or something like that. Like that's when you would use that pose.
Yeah.
And then there's growth like up and to the right. Up,
Mm-hmm.
If you were talking about stocks, you would talk about how this stock is going to grow, and you draw the chart, those kind of things. So it's pretty intuitive stuff, but it really does help with the stickiness of remembering the presentation. You can say things like, my belief is I want you. So you put your hands towards you when you're talking about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of push your hands out when you're talking about the audience.
Yeah.
Just little things like that. It seems pretty simple, but most people aren't doing it intentionally. Most people are just kind of waving their hands around.
No, watch some of the best, like comedians do this. They're some of the best comedians out there are really good at the hand gestures, and preachers as well. Watch.
Yeah, preachers good at it. I think that's why if you really want to give a good talk, you need a headset mic and not a microphone.
Yeah, because you don't need to be holding something because you need your hands for the, for that emphasis.
Yeah. So if you can, if you have to give a talk, and obviously if you're in a small room, you're giving the sales presentation, things like that, then, you don't need either one.
Yeah.
Right. But, because sometimes, some comedians get reliant on the microphone. It's a crutch, right? That gives them something to hold or gives them kind of something to stand in front of.
Right.
But, a good comedian, if that's all they've got, if the club doesn't have, because a lot of clubs don't have headsets, they just got the microphone.
Right.
But they'll use those as props, right? They'll use the microphone as a prop. They'll use the microphone stand as a prop. Yep. I remember when I took that comedy class, one of the things they talked about was when the microphone stands up there, the very first thing you're supposed to do, and now that you know this, you'll see it all over the place. Your first thing you're supposed to do is take the microphone out of the stand and move the stand to the side of the stage.
Yep.
And get it out of the way. And it's like a bridge from the last person to you, right? It also gives you a time to like catch your breath.
Yep.
Kind of get the adrenaline down just a little bit, all that kind of stuff. So, the same thing with like a stool, sometimes there's a stool there and people will move the stool out of the way. And it's just a way to kind of control the stage and like, let everybody settle in after the applause or whatever. So so what's funny is when you start studying this stuff, you start seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
You think it's just, but it's very intentional. And you'll see that every comic does it, right? Unless they just really like that stand, then they'll keep it.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah. And that's a type of hand gesture for sure.
Yep.
So, and there's a bunch of others we could get into, but I won't belabor the point. I think people get it. So shall we talk about the piece of mail I got?
Yes.
You got anything else to add there?
No, I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So I went to, saw a Facebook ad, Instagram ad for some CBD for sleep and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
The company's called Batch, BATCH.
Yep.
And so I went to their site. I'm looking around. I add some stuff to the cart, but I don't really buy, right? But I add it to the cart. They use Shop Pay. So, if you've ever used Shop Pay, then your data is there. That's why people use Shop Pay. So even though I filled out the thing and I didn't hit submit, it captured my info, right? So I don't buy anything. They sent me a few follow-up emails, but then it's probably been 2 weeks since I was on that site. Of course, I saw all their competitor ads and everything else. But then yesterday, I got a postcard in the mail, and it's a 35% off everything postcard. It's got a QR code. It's kind of an early Black Friday kind of thing, which that's a whole nother conversation we could have. Black Friday happening earlier and earlier every year. Yeah. So Black Friday is now, according to them, December 15th or November 15th through December 1st. That's a long Friday. Yeah. But here's what was really cool about it. So one, I wasn't even a paying customer yet. And they sent me a postcard in the mail. That's pretty unusual. Most people, most people don't even send their current customers a postcard, right? Much less a potential customer. So that was cool. But here's what was really cool. The same day, I get an email from them that says the exact same thing, word for word, 35% off everything. So I'd seen this in the mail. I set it aside for the show, but I saw it. It's nice and colorful, and I remembered the brand and all that kind of stuff. And then I get to my email and I see it again, and it reinforces. So now I'm a click closer. I mean, I could have done the QR code and stuff, but if I order, I typically order. I'm not like, I'm Gen Xer, so a lot of times I like to order on my laptop, not on my phone.
Right.
But,
right.
I'm not a TikTok shopper or anything. But so yeah, I thought it was just good because it was a double hit there. Where if I just seen the email, I'd probably ignore it because they've sent me some other emails. But they sent me the card and it was visual. And then I saw the email. I was like, oh, now to be fair, I haven't ordered yet, but I probably will. I just haven't had a chance to go on and order yet. But it's a pretty good offer. And I don't know if I put in the code right now, because today's the 14th as we record this. Be interesting to see if the code works yet, or if it does actually wait till the 15th.
That's so great, though. I mean, that's very resourceful for them to be doing something like that. Very J. Abraham-esque to be able to capture that information. And sometimes and the truth is reactivate cold leads,
And the truth is this card, because it was pre-sorted, it wasn't first class mail. It's a small card, 4x6. And so I'm guessing this thing probably cost 30 cents to mail out.
Yeah.
Including printing and everything, because they're probably doing a bunch of them in volume. Retargeting will cost you that much on Facebook.
Right.
If I want a retargeting ad and I could spend 30 cents per impression, or 10 cents or 20 cents. So it's not much more than a retargeting ad would be on social media, on Meta or YouTube or anywhere else. But it's much more effective because, you get banner blindness online.
Easily. You stop noticing things.
And because if you go to one site, then you're going to get ads from 15 competitors within the next 37 seconds, right?
Right.
Like as soon as you get off that site and go back onto social media, you're going to see every competitor they have, which is mind blowing to me that, it happens that fast. It's crazy how fast it happens. But this stands out. The postcard stands out.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
And I think more people should be doing that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lost sale. I mean, you didn't go through the full checkout. Maybe something happened. Obviously people get distracted, or they just like pause things, or sometimes they're going to take a break before if they decide, I better think about this, and then they just forget about it. These are still potential customers for them, and they're taking advantage of it by not just.
And I was. From my standpoint, I was still early in the process. I hadn't heard of this company before.
Yeah.
So I just, I was like, maybe I'll go up to my local place. There's a local CBD shop here in the shopping center. Maybe I'll just go up there. Right. So I just kind of hesitated a little bit. But now they've sent me this. I've done a little bit. I've seen a little bit more of their stuff. I've researched them a little bit more. So now I feel a little bit more comfortable with this company. So I'll probably go ahead and make an order, especially with, a discount like that.
Right. Yeah.
It's worth going ahead and, trying their sample pack or something else.
Yep.
Especially since, they're trying to get rid of all hemp and CBD products now
I've heard about
that. Snuck that little bill in the shutdown.
Secretly. Yeah. I saw that. I was reading that this morning and thought, man, that's huge.
Well, it's we've talked about on the show, like the alcohol industry is hurting right now. People are leaving, especially the younger demographic is leaving alcohol and going to, THC products.
Yeah.
And the two main people that pushed that through the bill that, get rid of all hemp and THC were from Kentucky.
The bourbon capital of the world.
Go figure.
Wow.
So probably got some nice kickbacks for slipping that in the bill there.
Yeah.
Luckily they've got a year to figure it out, and it's not going to be instant kind of thing. Yeah. And this happened I think in 2019, I think it happened here in Texas, where they were going to shut down hemp sales and THC sales, and it got overturned and that kind of stuff. But at the federal level, it's, that's a different story. So,
that's the one thing I need to get. So they've got a year before this takes.
Yeah. So I think it was Rand Paul or somebody was like, we're not going to vote on that. Mm-hmm. If you keep it in there, he made like a quick amendment that was like, well, at least we've got to be able to give them a phase out of a year, or we got to be able to debate it for a year, or, basically something like that. So, they do that on a lot of these policies. Like, you've got a year before it goes into effect. So you got a chance. Yeah. It's kind of it's their version of a compromise to, like, gives you a chance to debate it and all this stuff. So, and to check the polls and see how many of your voters are going to vote you out or in based on whether you do it. That's really the real reason they do it.
Surprises me, though, that Rand Paul would be, I don't know if he's behind. You said from Kentucky. He's a senator from Kentucky.
Yeah.
So
I think McConnell was the one. Yeah. Which, I mean, libertarians have always been for access to, more, those kind of drugs that are good for people, or at least not as dangerous.
Yeah.
But I think McConnell's the one that actually put it in, though.
Oh, that makes sense.
So,
on his way out, way out the door,
get a big paycheck before he heads out.
Yep. Got some liquor lobby money there going straight in his pocket.
Yep.
Who knows? That's interesting.
Sure. So yeah,
cool.
So yeah, that's good stuff. So, make your so let's recap real quick. So we had number one, make it rewarding to the person itself, right?
Yep.
All right. So what's in it for you personally?
Yeah.
Number two, the social, how does that affect your social standing?
Yes. Social status amongst your peers.
Yeah. And then the third thing was, how do you make that practical? So we talked about some of the phrasing and some of the examples, and we talked about hand gestures and things like that, where you can be a little bit stickier and things like that. So, we even brought thanks to you, Jonathan, we even brought in an actual scientific report in the, in the brain science segment here. So I think we did our job today.
We did our job. Hey, and we taught, hand gestures, important stuff. Good to remember. Get on YouTube if you've got some time. Watch some of the best speeches out there, and it will probably follow exactly what we have mentioned on here in terms of using hand gestures within that strike zone, as Sean said.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to check out some of the most famous speeches and see. I'm sure they'll.
Yeah, there's a list out there, like the top 10 TED Talks of all time, rated by YouTube views.
Yep.
Every one of those would be, because that's one thing they do. If you're going to get a TED Talk, they make you rehearse that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You have to really put together your presentation. It has to go through a committee, and you practice and practice and practice. So and even Steve Jobs, if you watch the Steve Jobs movie, there's a couple clips in there, depending on which one you watch, where he's practicing the launch pitch, right? Because it's important. There's, all the editors are there from the different magazines, and
absolutely,
if you want a product to win, you got to do it right.
He was super intentional about all of that.
Yeah. And that's the key. It's got to be intentional, but it's got to look unintentional.
Like you're not, forcing it.
Yeah. You don't want to look like you're trying to do it. It's just got to come off natural and flowy, and so presidents do it. Presidential candidates do it.
Yeah.
We'll see that start ramping up here probably in January. I'm sure it'll be a 2-year long midterm election cycle. So
now I have seen people overdo it too. We won't get into that, but some of these debates and things like that, I've noticed
well, and that's what we said, right? If you get too big, if you do get too grand,
overdo it.
Yeah. It turns people off.
Don't believe you. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it comes off as manufactured at that point.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Cool.
Man.
Well, next week, we do have a guest. Sean mentioned we've got a guest joining us. Should be a pretty interesting. He's got a course on AI, if I'm not mistaken, right, Sean? Like,
correct.
On super prompts for AI. If you want to get the most out of ChatGPT, you want to check out that episode next week. That'll be episode 413.
Yeah, that'll be good because we'll get a chance to hear as we're recording this. ChatGPT 5.1 just came out like 2 days ago, which is supposed to fix some of the stuff that happened with 5 when it came out.
Yep.
I've noticed a little bit difference in the last 2 days with the conversation patterns and things like that. So it'll be interesting to hear from him. He's really into this stuff. Our guest from 3 or 4 weeks ago, John, is the one that kind of referred him to us. I think. So yeah, he's got a copywriting background. He's gotten into AI, so we'll have a good conversation around persuasion and using prompts and writing and all that kind of stuff.
I was following his stuff because we sent him an invite for the show, and I was checking his stuff out, or some of his Twitter page out, or X page. So he's got some good stuff there. But yeah, looking forward to talking with him next week on the show. And then I think that'll be our final episode before Thanksgiving. We're taking the week of Thanksgiving off. So we'll make it a good one next week, and looking forward to it. You can check out our episode at persuasionbythepint.com. You can see all of our past episodes. You can also check us out on your favorite podcast platforms. And it's been fun. We'll see you all next time.
See ya.